Imagine a plant that hundreds of people walk past every day, without realizing that it was once considered one of the most valuable remedies for the nervous system in North America. It grows near rivers, in damp forests, along roadsides, low to the ground, unremarkable, with small blue-violet flowers. Its name is Scutellaria lateriflora, American skullcap. In the 18th and 19th centuries, this plant was well known to physicians, herbalists, and entire communities. It was given to people whose nerves were exhausted by constant stress, fear, or overwork. Not to sedate them, but to restore a sense of inner balance. At a time when modern calming drugs did not yet exist, it was often one of the first remedies people turned to. Unlike many well-known medicinal herbs, Scutellaria lateriflora does not stimulate and does not suppress. It works differently, gently reducing excessive nervous excitation. That is why it was used for conditions that today we might call chronic anxiety, nervous exhaustion, or emotional burnout. For a long time, the plant was not taken seriously by science. It did not produce dramatic effects. It did not act instantly. It did not alter consciousness. But this was precisely its defining feature. People noticed that after several days or weeks of use, tension eased, sleep became deeper, and the body felt calmer. Scutellaria lateriflora never became a legend. It never gained a loud reputation. It simply worked. And perhaps that is why it was almost forgotten. What makes Scutellaria lateriflora especially interesting is not folklore, but chemistry. Modern analysis has identified several active compounds in the plant, including flavonoids such as bicoline and scutellarin. These substances interact with the brain in a way that helps explain its long-observed effects. Rather than forcing the nervous system into sedation, American skullcap appears to support the body's own calming mechanisms. Research suggests that its compounds influence GABA receptors, the same system responsible for regulating neural excitability. GABA acts as a natural brake in the brain, preventing overstimulation. When this system is underactive, the result is restlessness, anxiety, muscle tension, and difficulty sleeping. By gently supporting this inhibitory pathway, Scutellaria lateriflora helps reduce excessive neural firing without dulling alertness. This is why people historically described its effects not as knockout sedation, but as mental quieting. Thoughts slow down, physical tension eases, the body stops reacting as if it is under constant threat. This calming effect also explains its traditional use for muscle spasms, nervous tics, and stress-related tremors. When the nervous system settles, the muscles often follow. The plant was never meant to treat a single symptom. It addressed the underlying imbalance, a system stuck in a state of chronic activation. Sleep, too, benefited indirectly. Rather than inducing sleep artificially, Scutellaria lateriflora made sleep possible by removing the obstacles to it. A quieter nervous system allowed natural sleep rhythms to return. For many, this meant deeper rest without the grogginess associated with stronger sedatives. In a modern world dominated by fast-acting pharmaceuticals, this kind of slow, regulatory effect can seem unimpressive. But biologically, it is precisely this subtlety that makes the plant remarkable. Today, Scutellaria lateriflora is quietly returning to scientific and clinical interest, not as a miracle cure, but as a case study in how traditional knowledge and modern biology can converge. Researchers are no longer asking whether the plant works, but how and in which context it may be most useful. Unlike many synthetic sedatives, American skullcap does not appear to create dependence or blunt cognitive function when used appropriately. This has made it of interest in discussions about long-term stress management and nervous system support. In an era where chronic anxiety and sleep disturbances are increasingly common, gentle interventions have gained renewed attention. The plant is now most often found in tinctures, teas, and standardized extracts. Historically, it was rarely used alone. Herbalists combined it with other calming plants to support balance rather than override the body's natural responses. This philosophy contrasts sharply with modern approaches that often aim for immediate symptom suppression. Safety, however, remains essential. Not all plants marketed as Skullcap are the same species, and misidentification has caused confusion in the past. Authentic Scutellaria Lateriflora is distinct in its chemical profile and effects. Responsible sourcing and proper preparation matter. Perhaps the most important lesson of this plant is not medical, but cultural. Scutellaria Lateriflora represents a way of thinking about health that values regulation over force, restoration over control. It does not silence the nervous system. It reminds it how to rest. In a world that constantly pushes the brain toward alertness and urgency, the quiet persistence of this small, overlooked plant may be more relevant than ever.